This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded August 5th, 2013. Episode 157, with guests the SparkFun engineering team, Efficacious Engineering Ensemble.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Chris Gamble's Analog Life. And who do we have here today?
We all ran.
Six engineers from SparkFun. I'm Mike Hord, one of the design engineers.
I'm Jim Lindblom. I've been here for about 4.5 years. I started in a tech support position, moved up to an engineering position, and these days I'm writing tutorials and content.
I'm Chris Taylor, engineering project manager, formerly an engineer.
I'm Mike Grusin. Let's see, I'm a design engineer here, and I sort of come from an aerospace background, so whenever anything spacey comes along, they tend to come knock on my door here.
Okay.
I'm Pierce Melcher. I am a technical researcher. I have a mechanical background and started in tech support.
I'm Tony Klopfenstein. I started in tech support, and I now do quality assurance for engineering.
Anyone else? Is that everyone?
That's it.
Is that it?
No one hiding
Everybody
under
else
the table?
failed for the night.
Yeah.
No one's stuck in yet.
And does this constitute the entire SparkFun engineering department, as Chris claimed last week?
No, we're missing a few people.
Oh.
Most famously, we're missing Pete Doctor of According to Pete fame.
Yes, I've seen his videos.
Children, I don't know. I think his parents.
Children, all right.
I don't know. And we're missing a design engineer. Our e-textiles specialist is not here.
Product better.
Yeah. One of our
Junior
design
engineer.
engineers out. So.
Well, 2 out of 3 isn't bad, right? I mean,
you've got about half.
you get 6 out of 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thanks for coming on, guys. This is a crazy experiment, and hopefully it works.
And if it all goes pear-shaped, I told you so, Chris. Because we've had 2 guests on before, and that was hard enough.
Yeah.
And now we've got
But they're all in
6.
one room. I mean, that's pretty nice. It's,
Right.
It's like having a studio audience, except we actually get to talk to the audience. That's kind of cool.
The Amp Hour filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Yeah, we'll be the laugh track.
There you go. Yeah. We'll just cue you when we tell a particularly lame joke. So just watch the light on your computer over there. So
Tony,
yes.
being the only female in this group,
Yes.
how many? I'm just curious, how many? Because we've talked about it before on the show. How many girls work at SparkFun? Do you think, as
the whole
a
company?
percentage wise? How? Just out of curiosity, because it always comes up in the engineering field.
I'd say in the whole company, maybe like 20%. I don't know. Between
That's good.
Right.
Our finance department has a lot of women. Customer service has a lot of women. Myself and our e-textiles expert are the only 2 in engineering, and then we've got our tech support team is about half women as well. So I'd say about 20-30%, somewhere in there. So.
And it seems
For
like
a while there, tech support was 60% female, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We had
Okay.
3 women and 2 men.
Yep.
seems like you guys said that a lot of you came from tech support. Is that kind of the normal process at SparkFun to have people start there and kind of learn the products, or how does that work?
That's kind of been the route. Because the tech supporters need such a deep knowledge of, I have an engineering degree and I started in tech support, and most of our tech support people, they need that kind of knowledge as well. So it's been a common path for a lot of people.
That's good. That's really
Our
good.
tech support manager hates that because he keeps hiring good people and then they leave for engineering.
Yeah. No one likes being the seed team, right? You gotta. So what does tech support involve there then? I mean, I've never had to call tech support, but I've used the products before. But
Hello, have you switched it on? Have you tried turning it off and on again? Is that where it starts?
Let me read that data sheet for you.
Yeah, it's a mixture of people who are using the parts and maybe aren't quite sure how to use them, or people who have an idea for a project and aren't quite sure what they need in order to do that project. It's actually kind of, engineering on the fly. You have to be really quick.
Yeah.
When somebody calls on the phone and says, "How do you do this?" You got to be like, "Oh, okay, we'll try this."
Tech support actually got a video a couple weeks ago of somebody plugging something in and it just literally sparking up in flames and smoke rolling out of it.
Yeah, but
And
that's
the
your
guy did
name,
not intend
SparkFun.
that.
Right. There you go.
That's where it came from too.
That's crazy. So it's all telephone based then. I mean, or is it? Well, I guess email as well. But
Telephone, email, live chat, forums, comments on the website. I think that's everything. I don't know if I'm missing anything.
GitHub polls, sometime
nice
issues.
I was going to say, people don't use telephones anymore, do they? Call up a human? Jeez, that's so
Yeah, it's surprising.
1980s, you know?
well, it's nice if it's there as an option. You know.
Yeah.
And it's tough because, when you're an email, you can run off and do some research and come back with
Yeah,
a well-considered
that's right.
answer. But when it's in telephone, you've got to kind of be flipping through the computer real quick and try and come up with answers for people. But people do like to talk on the telephone. It's really surprising.
And you've got so many products.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
how could you, I'll wait until I go and get one. I know we've got one here somewhere, and let me try it, kind of thing. But a phone call puts you on the spot. That's really tough.
So
More times than not, they would be explaining their issue as I'm frantically trying to figure out what product they're talking about.
so how many products are there now? I mean,
Hands-free headset is your best friend.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How many projects are? How many products are there these days?
We're in the neighborhood of 2,200
Holy
individual
shit.
computers.
I think what, it's like 500
that's
that we
ridiculous.
designed in-house or something?
Yeah, something like 500 in-house builds.
Wow. That's
We just
So you'd be
built our
churning
3
out one
millionth
every couple of
board.
days, right? Wow.
Those are the products that we source, right? So of the 2,200 or so, 400 to
Oh, okay.
500
Right.
are designed by us. So it's more like 1 or 2 a
Right.
week.
that's still
Still
that's
a lot of board stuff.
And so
But
are
you have no shortage of people to do it, though, because SparkFun's got a couple of hundred employees, right? So
Technically, yes, but those are everything. That's the whole company. The guys that are
That's-
packaging the
finance,
the guys in
and
shipping,
packaging,
finance,
yep.
everybody. So right now, currently, we have our e-textile specialist, our technical writing. That's Jim. He's writing tutorials exclusively, and then 3 engineers designing boards. So right now we have only 3 people.
Right.
Soon to be 6 people designing boards. We moved Jim to technical writer,
Wow.
and then we just lost one of our engineers to Motorola.
Oh. Okay.
Bummer. That happens.
Now he's off doing
And
very
Jim,
cool things.
Yes.
Jim, I'd like to consider you the first line of defence against doing all the tutorials and the documentation and stuff like that. The first line of defence before people get on the phone angry that this damn thing doesn't work, or
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
blowing
if I'm
up in
doing my
flames
job
or whatever
right.
like that.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say here is that they probably don't pay you enough. That's what I'm trying to say, because all that online information is, all that is the first line. That's the first thing you go and check, or most people should go check, is the, is the documentation there on how this thing works? And
Yeah.
so
with every
how
new
long
product
would it
we
take
make-
you to do good documentation? Yeah, exactly. How long would it take you to do good documentation, thorough, for a new board?
Right. So every new product we make usually needs some example code to go with it. So usually like an Arduino sketch or something. So that takes a little bit of time. But from the few that I've done, because this is kind of a new position and it's kind of a new focus for us, is trying to get a tutorial or something for every product. It's about 3 or so days to get that product in my hands, play with it, and write something up for it.
That's
Cool.
And
It's fast paced.
Yeah, we most of the engineers have have been doing our own for, like, if it's a product that we designed, we usually try and do the hookup guide for it. Jim's going to be doing some of those, I think. But right now, he's spending a lot of time on sort of tutorials for the essentials, the basics. If you go to the learn.sparkfun.com website, you'll see all of the tutorials that we've got up, and most of the ones that are on the Learn website have been written in the last 6 months. And there's an absolutely astonishing number of tutorials up there. Jim's been doing a heck of a job.
Yeah, I see them.
So,
I'm trying to steer away
It's
from
crazy.
writing the what is electricity and those concept tutorials. Getting a little sick of those. Trying to get more hookup guides.
Okay.
And, yeah. I think we're
Well,
about
I think
to the
that's the
point.
important stuff, because there's so much of the basic stuff on the internet already, really.
Sure.
So do you really want
Yeah.
to reinvent the wheel there?
It's hard for us to pick the right audience, though, because sometimes we're writing to college students, and other times we're writing to elementary schoolers.
Really?
And sometimes to NASA scientists.
Yeah,
The Mythbusters. I mean, all over the place.
And with the revamp of the tutorial system, the final goal, which might just be a pipe dream, is to have anyone be able to, regardless of level of experience, be able to go on the site, pick a tutorial, even an advanced tutorial, and then be given a roadmap of all the information they're going to need to accomplish that tutorial. So starting with basic electricity, you are given, read this, and by the end, you should be able to get all the way up to whatever advanced project you wanted to start with to begin with.
I like that. I like that a lot.
But that is a lot of
Yeah.
information.
No, that's great.
Was this a initiative that started about 6 months ago, you mentioned, or it was just kind of a natural thing as you kept hiring people, or how did the tutorial system get revamped?
Well, we started with kind of this scattershot way of making tutorials. If we were interested in something, we'd write a tutorial on it, or someone would ask a common problem like, what resistor do I use with this LED? And we'd say, well, lots of people are having that problem. Let's just write a tutorial about it. And what that got us was a big, long mess of tutorials about everything. So if you're curious about a certain subject, no level of search engine optimization was going to, pour through that list for you and find the exact thing. You just had to kind of get lucky and land on it. So about 6 months ago, we were working on the Learn site, which is the site dedicated to our education department. And we said, well, why don't we use this as the place to host the new tutorials and kind of organize them at the same time. So we're reformatting all the old tutorials while writing these new tutorials, which involve all the basic knowledge you're going to need to use our products or get into electronics. And that happened about 6 months ago, yeah.
Brilliant. You guys have a whole education department, don't you?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
And
They are out and
what does that
about,
involve?
right?
Are they the guys that arrange all these road shows? And
Yeah, they're so busy. We rarely see the entire education department. I think the last time we all saw them in the same place was months ago. So they're constantly out teaching classes all over the U.S. Yeah.
We're currently in the middle of the
Right.
national tour, and we actually bought a big RV and painted it up in SparkFun colors. And there's teams of
Nice.
3 or 4 SparkFun people driving this route throughout the whole United States, stopping at hacker spaces and schools and basically whoever has responded to us and said they want us to come by and teach a class. And we'll spend all day there teaching them and helping them out with projects and stuff, and actually leaving a pretty big package of SparkFun stuff for them to continue working with it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I was
fantastic.
I was really surprised.
and because that's not a profit-making exercise
No, not at all.
either. That's a give back to the community exercise.
Yeah.
That's
As much as possible, yeah.
Well, like, you guys can probably relate to this. Most of us here are a little bit crazy about our evangelism, about making electronics. Like, we love doing this stuff. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense for us to try and get other people interested in it because, it's a great hobby.
Yeah. Do you guys get pulled into the teaching side as well, or is it mostly you guys are locked away in the lab like Dave and I are?
Well, absolutely. We get pulled in for teaching all the time.
Yeah, Tony just got back from the national tour.
Yep.
I've got to teach an Eagle class in 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, I was looking at that on your site as well, the classes and stuff, and obviously I have some vested interest in people teaching classes online and such. But what are those like? Are those mostly on site then, or are you actually going out to different places and teaching people that stuff?
It depends on what we're teaching. I mean, we do a lot of classes here in the building, which Mike is actually working on trying to get the classes that we do on site recorded and then posted online, so anybody anywhere can view them and get that information. But as far as the national tour, obviously that was all done on site. We do a lot of local things, anywhere in Colorado or Wyoming or Arizona. A lot of that stuff is all we'll drive out there and teach the classes there as well. So.
Wow. It's like the Midwest thing, huh? Or the Far West, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
We'll go anywhere.
Yeah. I was going to say, we do have Hawaii on our tour dates.
Have you found that there's any states that have a more preoccupation with this kind of thing? A more interest in this side of things?
There's hotbeds. San Francisco area seems to have a lot of this sort of stuff.
Boston, as you'd expect, yeah.
Yeah, generally the bigger the city, obviously the more people. Just that's just numbers. But as far as as far as the eagerness to learn this kind of thing, or people tinkering with electronics, it is across the board, everywhere the same.
Right.
International and everything.
Yeah, and you're going to get the same amount of fanaticism in a small town in New Mexico as you are San Francisco.
Fargo, North Dakota was we spent a lot of time on the leg of the tour that I was on. They were the most excited group that we had, and they were already calling us saying, when can you guys come back? And people tweeting at us, oh, why did I miss this class? And, so not the typical place you'd expect that from, so...
Well, nothing against North Dakota, but what else are you going to do out there, right?
Same with Cleveland, Chris.
We love you, Fargo.
Yeah, I know, that's true. Yeah, Cleveland probably is on the same plane there. Well, that's really great, though.
You guys need to bring your van to Australia and go for a tour around Australia. What do you think?
Yes, we do.
We will do that as soon as we can.
Yeah, do us a favor. I'll give you my boss's email.
There you go. Just put some floaties on the bus. Right, it'll get there eventually.
Yeah. Exactly.
You can tell them I volunteer for it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, all of us engineers actually love getting out in the public. There's nobody here that's just like staying in their office. It's just really fun, whether you're working with little kids or older kids or whoever. The excitement really kind of motivates you to keep doing a great job of engineering.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us more about the culture there as well? I mean, so that's obviously part of it is the external side of things, people being excited. But what's it like working around SparkFun? I mean, what's the company culture like?
It's pretty great.
Yeah, it's.
I've got a beer from the keg in front of me.
Oh,
I think that makes three of us.
Yeah, you're one of those workplaces, Luckies.
It's in the break room.
Yeah.
We actually don't have any dogs in here. We didn't bring Copper.
No, he's hanging out in the office.
Yeah, we do our best. The culture around here, we actually have a culture meeting once a year, a company-wide meeting where we all get together and discuss, what we want it to be like working at SparkFun. And the gist of those meetings are that we've stripped away, we tried to strip away any kind of unnecessary
corporate burrito.
Yeah, unnecessary food in the corporate burrito. But what that amounts to, because we grew organically, we had to start with no rules and then slowly add them.
Yeah.
And what we come up to with is a set of axioms that haven't changed throughout the years, which are things like we're allowed to fail. So, if an engineer tries something or we try something as a company and it fails, that's perfectly acceptable. Safety third.
Is that when you hold up a couple fingers and you right?
Yeah.
Safety third.
We've got skateboards. The order pickers downstairs are riding skateboards through the inventory shelves.
Very nice.
Yeah.
No
we
dress
pay
code.
more insurance for that.
Awesome.
We accept paying more insurance to give people the freedom to work the way they want.
That's ballsy and bloody, but it's
You can actually get insurance for that? I'm surprised.
Yeah, we had to special write it into our policy because one of the production guys broke his ankle. And we decided it was time to get some actual rules on that kind of thing. So
I'm sure
they wrote it in for us.
The overwriter there is just like, or the underwriter rather, is probably just like looking at you like, what? Why would you tell me about this?
I think part of that is somewhere in the building we have to have a sign that says like no lifeguard on duty or something like that.
Work at your own risk.
Yeah, the floor is hard.
How to walk upstairs.
There's also a great respect for individuality here. That everybody kind of has their own weird thing that they like, and nobody gets on anybody else about that.
And we defend each other for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You have a story about that, Mike?
Cross-reference me painting my fingernails, which I haven't done in a couple of weeks, but
He has gorgeous fingernails.
yeah, I do try and take care of my fingernails, and I was painting them for about 6 months, and I tell you what, man, electrical engineering is just hell on fingernails. But the soldering and all the dexterity and stuff.
I don't have fingernails.
Oh.
Yeah, I always keep one good fingernail so I can open the blades on my Swiss Army knife, and that's that's all I need.
Yeah, we're in Colorado. We understand that.
Well, that's good though. So, any other quirks or individual? I mean, so like, I guess that's really interesting to like write into your you actually have this written down somewhere, huh?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
In fact, there was a front page post about it. If you search back through those for, I'm not sure what you'd search for, but
Cultural values or
Okay.
corporate values.
Yeah.
Right.
Any videos of people skateboarding and picking orders or no?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to look for that
Plenty of
too.
videos about that.
Okay.
Yeah, they're kicking around.
And we actually hold tours of the building. On Friday, it's sort of hard to imagine sometimes. We sometimes get a pretty good crowd of people here who want to come see SparkFun, and we show them the whole place, and they can see the dogs and people skateboarding and
Great.
mohawks and everything else.
And the beer's there too, of course.
Dogs.
And the beer.
You?
Yeah.
I think we have 50 dogs in the office on any given day.
Right? 50?
There's a lot.
Yeah, 50.
Holy.
And there's about
crap.
150 employees
What?
now, so about one dog for every 3 people.
So
Yes, we recently interviewed for new engineering positions, and that had to go into the job description.
if they're allergic or
And
something.
we did have someone turn down the position because they were allergic to dogs,
Oh,
which
no.
is unfortunate. But
So
Wow. There you go.
you guys work tech support. What has anyone ever called and been like, I got a dog hair in my order? Have they ever sent an order back because of that?
we did have one of the dogs. We have a pretty strict dog policy.
Yeah.
That goes along, with being able to have them here. So there's a kind of 3 strikes rule on barking and that kind of thing. But we did have a few years ago somebody's dog bit the FedEx guy.
Oh no.
So there have been issues in the past.
Dogs are no longer allowed in inventory. I think at one
And
point
your
maybe
whole
it-
business collapses because you can't get FedEx packages anymore.
I think a dog may have urinated into one of the product bins.
Oh no!
And so now they're not allowed in the inventory area anymore.
That's amazing.
We did not sell that product.
That's good. Yeah.
So we do like to have fun here and let everybody kind of work the way they want to, but at some point you run into the line where you need to run a business and everybody has to be able to work together. So in those cases we have gotten together and actually all talked about the rules and kind of come up with good compromise rules that everybody can agree to.
That's awesome. So I wonder about that too, because like you said, you mentioned you're growing organically, and reading about like a company like Hewlett Packard in their early days, they had very similar stuff where it was, people they were handed their paychecks by Bill and Dave, and they had a lot of the same kind of cultural things, but as they grew, it just got harder and harder and harder. So have you seen that shift at all to the bigger company mentality, or is it still small enough that it's still manageable for now?
Well, one of the things that Nathan has actually mentioned in meetings is how big do we want to get?
Okay.
He's actually brought that up of do we? I mean, like at some point, Hewlett Packard made the decision to just keep adding business units.
Yeah.
And we have had that discussion as a company. Do we want to get big enough to the point where these things that make us are no longer feasible?
Yeah.
So far, we've made, I think, at least a relatively conscious decision that we want to maintain our character rather than, necessarily chasing the utmost of the bottom line, because it's what makes us who we are. It's a huge part of our success. I mean,
yeah, and as it helps, I'm sure it helps you make you want to come to work in the morning too, right? I mean, that's culture's a big part of it.
Yeah, as soon as we start, I feel like the business that we're in, and as mobile as we have to be and creative, if we were to start instituting the bigger corporate policies and being a lot stricter with our work environment and our people, we would lose the environment that allows us to be that creative and to work that well. So it is beneficial for us to kind of have as few rules as possible, to just kind of cultivate the environment of being able to make cool stuff, because that makes us, it makes our business part of the community that we're catering to.
Well, let's talk about making cool stuff. I mean, you guys have a lot of great kits. You have a lot of great breakout boards. What are some of your favorite things that you've made, and maybe hints on what's coming up? I don't know.
Oh wow. Oddly enough, I never get to ask that question. I recently built a sound reactive forge torch, a propane powered forge torch that was connected to a spectrum analyzer chip. It's our Spectrum Shield, and the project turned out okay. The solenoid that turned on and off the propane didn't quite shut off as much as I wanted it to, but that was one of my favorite projects because I got to work with fire. SparkFun essentially paid me to go back to my garage and scare the hell out of my neighbors with a forge torch, and then play electronic music really loud in my garage at 3 a.m. So I had no experience whatsoever with working with propane or fire, and certainly not any connecting it to electronics.
Was that in the insurance policy too, or should that be written in there?
No, I had to do it at home.
Oh, right, of
that's
course.
why he went home to do it.
Homeowners insurance, right? Yeah. That's great.
SparkFun provided one of the fire extinguishers, but that was
there. You go. Yeah. It's a good product to have in the store.
That's how you get around any corporate policy.
Just go home. Yeah.
It's just look. I'll just go home and do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, I'll come
That's
back on
exactly
Monday.
what I
It'll
did.
be done. That's it.
There's been 1 or 2 projects like that.
Yeah. One of the cool things about SparkFun and about the people who work here is that there's a lot of latitude that you're allowed to kind of present things that you yourself are interested in, that you think might be a product. I mean, it's a mix. Pierce is really good at finding possible new products, and he presents them to all us, and we all talk about them and pick the cool stuff and run with it. And people are happy to grab these things and start working on them. But also, if you have your own interest, if you think of something cool, I mean, our customer base is so eclectic. We've got everything from beginners to like people in NASA, and we're not always quite sure what will sell if we put it on the storefront, and we're small and agile enough that we'll actually try it and see what happens. So that's a fun thing too about being an engineer here.
How do you judge if something is successful or not? Does it not matter? I mean, there's not that it doesn't matter, but is it just if a couple people buy it, that's enough to be kind of have it in the store and stock it, or are there actual metrics on what's a successful product and what isn't?
There's sort of metrics. Well, it's kind of, this looks like it kind of sells and stuff like that.
It's definitely a cool factor involved.
Yeah, exactly.
If something's cool, we will keep it on the site and let it just fail financially for.
Right.
And the other one is if it's like a pretty standard electronics component, then we're like, well, we're an electronics company. We need to be selling this component. Even if it's not selling, it's good to have.
Right.
Yeah, even if no one's buying the 10K resistors from us, we just have them there, so you don't have to go to another site.
That's good. Yep. So, you want to be that all-inclusive marketplace.
We keep a lot of stuff on the site too, just because we use it so often in-house. It's easy enough. It's like, oh man, I really need a AA battery. Just run downstairs and grab one.
Yep.
So
fill out the form.
Yeah.
You guys don't have a order fill window, do you?
We do, actually.
Oh, you do.
If you're ordering from a local Colorado address, you can put in local pickup as an option. Come right up to the front desk, and our wonderful receptionist, Amy, will hand you your order.
Awesome.
Now, I don't know if we've ever actually considered making it a window. But
you do have to go upstairs to get to it.
Right.
There's a little effort involved.
we do have an overzealous facilities manager who has a sledgehammer.
Yeah, drive through. What about like a fireman's pole you could slide down to have to pick it up?
For the fireman's pole and the slide.
Yeah, one of our guys downstairs hurt himself on Google's fireman's pole, and that kind of put the kibosh on that idea. We were pushing for that for a long time. That or a slide, actually.
We can
Still,
do slide.
Slide
Sure,
would be
still
great. Here he comes now. He's coming with your kit, and he whoosh comes out of the chute and
Think
gives
we
you
lost
your
you.
kit. That'd be fantastic. That'd be great. That has win written all over it. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
So you guys manufacture your own boards in house, don't you?
Our kits, yes.
Oh, as in assembled boards as well, because I know you do have the pick and place machines in house, don't you? So
Yes.
Yeah. Anything with a SparkFun.
Any like red board that we sell,
right.
for the most part, is
And that's why you talk about the agile aspect, right? Because you are able to just whack it in the pick and place machine and run off 50 units.
Well,
Yes.
there is a decent amount of setup time.
Oh,
that
of
comes
course,
with the pick and place and all. It's I'd say like 50% of the time that goes along with populating boards in the pick and place is just putting the correct resistors in the right reels and everything, and it can get very catastrophic if you put a 10K resistor in a 0.1 microfarad capacitor. Yeah.
And the agility, I think, is more so in the design process. So a lot of times we'll get an idea, and we'd like to be first to market with this idea. So, the concept comes up in a meeting. Someone says, that's a great idea. And we can turn around that board or project or whatever it is relatively quickly, just because we are open source. We are selling development tools. A project is usually worked on by one engineer as opposed to a team of people. So there's very little in the way of paperwork or we don't have to have it FCC tested, that sort of thing. So that's the agility that I was talking about earlier. But we are also able to produce very quickly. Mike is giving me the stink eye because I mentioned the FCC.
Everybody gets the stink eye when the FCC is mentioned. No one likes FCC.
Well, he's our FCC kind of watchdog.
Yeah. Captain Buzzkill.
Captain Buzzkill.
Now, an interesting aspect of this is you mentioned that each individual engineer does the whole thing. Have you ever discussed that it would be possibly more efficient, because it is in some companies, it's not in others, that it'd be better if, say, the engineer just does a schematic and then the term is throwing over the wall the board layout to a board layout specialist, for example, because that can bring you optimization, efficiencies and consistencies in your design, in your final designs. Has that been...
You keep your efficiency concepts to yourself.
They enjoy their layout.
Me and my real-world examples,
Yeah.
One of the great parts of this job is the variety that you get. So one day you might be designing a PCB, but the next you're doing example code or firmware or tutorials. So
I think it keeps everybody from burning out.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we're talking about from conception to product on the storefront. Depending on whether or not we have the parts in-house, we can turn something around in about a month and have a production level of that product. So if we're having to manage several engineers with several different people doing documentation, different people doing all of these different aspects of the design process, it's going to take longer than that. So with the size and the scope of the products that we are creating, it really is more efficient to just have one person designing the device. And we keep an eye on each other. There are design reviews. There are things like that.
Got it. And what cool toys do you guys have? Do you have like a PCB mill in-house? Do you have, can you lash up your own board in an hour?
We've had discussions about that.
We've been begging for one.
That's the one thing we don't have. Yeah. We cannot etch our own boards.
Right.
Well, not with a machine. We don't have one of those.
Yeah.
We do have a laser cutter. That's our fun toy.
That's fun.
I think. Yeah.
Got a laser cutter. Got a CNC mill.
Yep.
That's good. What kind of mill?
It's a K2.
The big green one.
The big green.
Big old Bridgeport.
Oh, that's the lathe. The CNC I thought was just a little desktop K2.
Oh, like the...
yes.
The CNC,
Yeah.
So a little brown one.
Little brown one. Okay.
We do have a big old school metal lathe too, which is pretty cool.
Come on, every engineer should have their own PCB mill. They should have their own 3D printer. They should have their own laser cutter, all on the desk.
We agree. Yeah.
And Dave wants to sponsor all you guys. The entire engineering department sponsored by EEV Blog.
I'm playing that back for Pete.
Yeah, there you go.
The address is pete@sparkfun.com. I'm kind of glad he's not here.
So how much do you guys?
Goodness.
So when you're coming up with products and stuff, I mean, is it? So Pierce, you said you're the tech researcher, product hunter. You said, is it like you start at it with a end project in mind, like the Spectrum, the sound reactive forge thing you're talking about, or is it more of a we definitely need a motor driver shield or something or board, or how do you actually make those decisions?
It's more along the lines of the latter. Occasionally, we will we'll look at like, hey, that's a cool project. Mm-hmm. How did they accomplish that? And did we have the parts that they would have needed to accomplish that? If not, should we look into making sure that we have those parts? Most of it, though, it's really I'll see a new technology or something along those lines and say we need to be doing that, and throw out some modules and stuff like that. The new technology and all, I keep an eye on all the blogs. I lurk in forums a lot. And then I have branded manufacturer reps throwing products at me 24/7 as well. So
yeah, is it
one of the? I was going to say one of the big discussions that we have whenever we're looking at a new product is this a product or a project? Is this something that lends itself to doing just one thing with it, or is it something that can be incorporated into a lot of stuff?
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, we like building blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of the default first step is to do like a breakout board? Is that kind of the idea, or is it more of do that whenever you need to kind of thing? Because it seems like that's how you guys started, right? Was breakout boards?
Yes.
Yeah,
And the first step is always that. Give the customer only what they need to use the device. Okay. We don't. That way, it can be used in any way, in the most general way. So any project they're putting that in, they are not hindered by some setting that we've made, some decision that we've made for them. Other than that, it's if we see something particularly novel, some particularly novel use for this device, and that's the same thing. That's giving the person only what they need to do that project, and staying out of it otherwise.
Tony.
Yes.
Your quality assurance, QA. Can you tell us what your role there is? Or do people like, here she comes, QA alert, QA alert, hide the prototype.
That's probably what they do when I'm not looking. My business card title now says Engineering Quality Assurance Pistol Whipper, because I basically have to go around harassing the engineers, and I'm like, hey guys, this is really needs to be updated, or fix this, please, so the customers stop yelling at us. So, no, I mean, it's kind of it's actually a new position that just started about 4 or 5 months ago. So a lot of what I've been doing is actually, like we were talking about before the show, getting all of our stuff ported over to GitHub, so that way we can have an easier way to track customer feedback and customers trying to, give us code that they want us to use, or they want to share with the community. So getting all of our board files on there, trying to get 3D models of all of our boards up and running. A lot of it's just been documentation organization for the product. So that's been a lot of it. And some small revisions, just things that have been sitting around that, the engineers are too busy to, they don't have time to go back and deal with, a tiny little breakout board that just needs a silk screen update or something like that. So.
Well, that's what engineers do. They once they get to that 90% mark, they just done, and move on to the next cool thing.
I wish
Hence
that
you
were
have to
true.
pistol whip them the last 10%.
What is your flow like for GitHub? Because I was looking at that recently for KiCad type stuff, and I've never done any GitHub code stuff. Is it just kind of using it as a file dump kind of thing, or do you actually have a process for utilizing it like programmatically?
I mean, we're still trying to figure that out as we go. It's been a lot of just sort of as boards get revised or as new boards are going up on the storefront, we're adding stuff to GitHub. It's been a lot of what we've really used it for is, I think the biggest place that's been a good resource for us has been Eagle, because we do all of our board designs in Eagle, and, we try and add to our SparkFun Eagle parts library every time there's a new board that goes on the storefront or something like that. But a lot of times, old boards that were 4 or 5 years old, those parts aren't in the Eagle library. So it's nice because we can have our customers design those parts and then, just issue a pull request. We can throw that in and then it's available to everybody instantly. So we're still trying to figure that out. So
We've always struggled with revision control, and I think I think we've solved it with GitHub. It's a nice forward-facing way to present our revisions. Yeah,
especially if you're doing open. I mean, why not, right? That seems
exactly.
Like it's a very sturdy place to put everything. It's it's popular format. It's good. So speaking of open, are any of you guys going to the Open Hardware Summit coming up? Are you going to be there?
Yep.
All of you?
Tony and I.
Yeah.
Tony and Mike.
Howard and Tony
Yeah.
will be going.
Awesome.
And Nathan, I think, will be there as well.
Yeah.
I won't be going. I'm
Well,
only
of course you won't be going,
15,000 miles away. Sorry. Come on, I need some sympathy. Come on.
Your postcard.
Move to the States. So could you tell us more about the culture open at SparkFun? I mean, what's it like there? I mean,
Vehemently open.
Yeah.
We
Embarrassingly open.
Pervasive, open salary roles and stuff. I've seen that before too, where people talk about everybody's salary should be published, like that kind of openness too, or what are we talking here?
Well, that's something we've talked about a lot. Was where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
We've given talks on at conferences on where do you draw the line as an open company.
Yeah.
And we kind of decided
no open bathrooms, huh?
Yeah, no open bathrooms. It depends on the day, maybe on the week. We kind of decided, what do you need to create this environment that we already have? What do we need to make open? What do we need to release to each other and the public? And we had to draw the line at kind of what is this information actually giving you? If we release our financials to everyone, how does that help us as a business? How does that help them as the consumer of that information? So we kind of draw the line on a case by case basis. But around here, closed source is a kind of disease to us. So if we're looking at reselling something, we're looking at working with someone. As soon as we hear the words non-disclosure agreement, closed source, that's pretty much the one and final nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
For whatever that is.
I on multiple occasions have had to shoot down pretty terrific projects simply because they didn't want to release schematics, they didn't want to release board files or source code or anything like that.
Huh.
And internally, we've written our own ERT, our backend. Our IT guys built it from the ground up, so that's how we maintain. What does it stand for?
Enterprise software.
Enterprise software.
Oh, right.
I don't know what the actual acronym
ERP.
is.
ERP, yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of acronyms
that's
for that.
right.
ERP, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So they've written that from the ground up, tailored perfectly to what we need from it, and they're always threatening to open source that as well. So now we're talking about
our open source.
Yeah.
What's that?
Parts of it are open source.
Parts of it, yes.
Anything that doesn't compromise customer data is available on GitHub. So.
Oh, cool.
So even that, what would be a very expensive piece of software is we're always trying to open it more.
Does it ever bug you at all? I mean, I obviously I'm a big fan of open too, but I mean, I was reading Nathan's letter to the Senate, I believe, and he was talking about the things are copied within a couple weeks and everything. Is it ever just man, again? Does it ever get you guys at all?
It bugs the hell out of me. If someone takes the best thing that someone can do is take what I've made and make it better. Make something cool out of it. Make it more. See something in it that I didn't see. And copy it, but improve it or change it in some way to make it their own. That is part of, one of the big reasons I do the job. But when someone takes it and I see it on a store or a shelf, especially, when I see this physical thing that I've designed and someone has just copied it and put it in some packaging, made it a different color, it is frustrating, but I think everybody would agree that's just the nature of how it works.
Such as open source.
That's where most people seem to draw the line in, even if they don't want to admit it. That's where I think most open hardware supporters draw the line. And I've done that in my, unwritten rules of open source hardware video, that when you don't add any value to it, that you just blatantly copy it and rip it off. Even though it might be legal, it's just not in the spirit of it. And I think most people seem to, accept that as as one of the unwritten rules, so to speak. Is that the similar feeling around SparkFun?
Yeah, you can't prevent people from copying it and still allow people to copy it and innovate it. So sort of our approach is that we would rather err too large. give everybody the opportunity to innovate it, even though some of them will just copy it. Like Jim made the beautiful board of the Makey, and how long did it take before we saw that copied on Chinese websites?
Probably a week.
Yeah, it was astonishing.
Wow.
Probably before the board even was out, yeah.
And the consolation is that, even though someone is making money off of your idea, imitation is a sincerest form of flattery. So on a personal level, you did work that was good enough for someone to copy.
Yeah.
And worked really hard to copy, exactly.
But
and on
it
the
still
other hand,
annoys you a little bit.
Yeah, right.
It exactly.
Hey, if they want to imitate while we're innovating, that's
while we're innovating. So that's the big consolation is we're going to be on top of the next thing while they're copying us.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's Nate's big point is that, it's okay if they copy you as long as you keep moving and making new stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess that makes it more exciting for you guys too, right? I mean, it's more stuff to work on, more stuff to dig into.
And it's not just a problem for open hardware, electronics in general. It's a problem for like an iPhone. Anything can be copied, really. So
making it closed source delays that counterfeit process by a
week or two. Yeah, exactly.
Do you guys do any? Do you have any recourse for when people don't? They don't, credit you properly based on license and stuff like that? Do you send them like a letter that just says "not cool" or anything like that?
That's basically it. Pretty much
social media.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if we've ever called a lawyer about it.
No. I just mean like a letter, just like from you guys, like not cool.
Yeah, we've sent a couple of those
tweet.
letters.
Check out these idiots.
Yeah.
It's got to be pretty far up there. Like we've had a couple companies where it's very obvious on their schematics that they just copy and pasted. Like they took a screenshot of our schematic and then that's theirs.
Or the company that copied our employee photo. They copied all of our they copied all of our product pages, our schematics, all that, and then they posted they just scraped the site and they posted our employee photo. So we're all like, oh hey, we've got second jobs overseas.
Start writing them for paychecks. I did not receive my paycheck this week.
I think the only time we really get agitated, we get copied all the time, so it's just the nature of the beast. The only time we really get agitated is if someone's using our name, because that we do care about. Yeah. Because attribution is, the name of the game. And even then, if someone's we've seen people using our logo a few times to sell counterfeit stuff. It is just a sternly worded personal email from our engineering director saying, hey, we see that you're doing this, take our logo off of it, and that'll be the last you hear of it.
Right.
And they do comply once they get that usually, or?
Usually,
Okay.
Sometimes.
Is it because they just didn't know? Do you think, or was it like they just didn't care? Because they often, right? I don't want to stereotype, but it's usually the Chinese doing it, right? And that is often their culture. It's a cultural thing that they don't see a problem in doing that. Yeah. So it's almost as if you can't blame them because that's what they're brought up to think. So it's interesting that you say, once they're made aware of it, then they go, oh, okay, sorry, I'll take it off. And
I think it's probably just once they notice somebody's paying attention, they move on to the next thing to copy and forget about using our stuff. So.
And a lot of times, if they're just copying the board design, it's not that we're telling them to stop it. We're just a lot of times we just ask them to provide attribution saying, this was based off a SparkFun design.
So what about the store as well? So we had a question on Reddit as well that it might be possible to sell stuff through your store. So is that actually a thing? I mean, are people able to get their own products into the SparkFun store, or is that more of a difficult process?
Well, we have a tutorial.
We do have a sell your widget tutorial.
This is how you go through the process and ask SparkFun to sell the widget. Of course, anything that comes to us, the engineering department vets and makes sure that we're all on board, that it's a fair product.
It's not as simple as
list me.
Hey, I'd like to. I set up an account and I can start selling. We don't work like Etsy.
Right.
But if something is cool enough, we will contact the person or vice versa, or the designer, and they will either manufacture themselves and sell through us, or we will take their design with their blessing, of course, manufacture it in-house, and then give them a royalty on it.
Right. Is there do you guys prefer one way over the other, or you're not fussed?
It depends on the product.
Yeah, it really depends. More recently, we've been just simply because we've been short on design engineers. Yeah. We've preferred they manufacture it themselves, but I mean, with the addition of new design engineers, that can quickly change.
Of course.
It's a difficult process. It's part of my job, and I sometimes refer to it as dream killing.
Yeah. Doing that clockwork stuff.
Exactly. It's hard because it might be a good project, or it might be a good product and all, but the market for it's very slim. It wouldn't justify us putting a lot of time or effort into it, which bums me out a lot, and I'm sure it bums them out when I explain that to them.
Or in the case of a lot of designers, they have this, very cool board that they're trying to sell at cost. So they think that we're going to be able to, sell something at cost. They say, oh, I've got this, Arduino Uno clone that only costs $250, and they're very disappointed to hear that we are not going to be able to sell it at $250.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't understand margins and how that works, because the kit might cost you $10, but if you want to sell it through Spark, do you have resellers? Because you have SparkFun resellers, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
So then you guys have to sell to them at, they've got to make their margin. Usually the last person in the food chain makes the highest margin. Usually, that's sort of, to a first order, that's how it works. So, it's a lot of people don't realise that, and how things scale up as they go through, price scales up as they go through the food chain.
That's exactly.
You need a tutorial on that.
Yeah,
maybe we do.
Oh, yeah, you probably
direct people to that.
Yeah. I noticed you guys are selling, like local here, it's called Micro Center. It's just like a computer store.
Yeah.
But the Bubble Pack stuff, I remember the first time I saw that, I walked in, I'm just like, holy crap! I obviously did not realize prior to that. But so what's the response to that? Is that like a marketing tool as much as it is an actual way for people to get parts? I mean, do you see that a lot in the customer support stuff? How does that actually affect your business?
It definitely, as far as from like a tech support customer service side, makes things a little bit more difficult, just because, we try and do it where if somebody buys something through one of our distributors, they go through that distributor as far as returns or replacements or anything like that. So that does get a little difficult, because we still support any of our stuff, no matter where you bought it, who you bought it from,
right,
when you bought it. We've had customers call up and say, hey, I bought this board 8 years ago, and it finally stopped working. Can you help me with this? So that does make it a little more complicated, but I don't know if that's really a huge point for our advertising. I don't know if that's really generates a ton of business for us.
Yeah, that's tricky, because I've also seen retailers in electronic stores, not Micro Center necessarily, but in other electronic stores, carry our retail products, but they also want to carry some non-retail products that we have, and we'll put it in packaging that looks just like our retail packaging themselves.
Huh.
I think just so it's easier for people to spot.
That's interesting.
Yeah, shout out to our friends at
You Do It Electronics in Needham, Massachusetts.
Yeah, they sell a lot of our stuff in bags with little headers on them that we don't sell as retail stuff. They're signed up to be distributors, and they buy it at the distributor price and put it on their shelves.
Have you ever had
Great
to
bunch of folks
turn away people for support because they've bought the cheap clone on eBay? Is that like a company, sorry, you didn't buy it, it's not an official SparkFun product, we can't support you on that, please go to the forum or something,
We really try hard to... I mean, even people who haven't bought any of our stuff they'll call us and ask us questions.
Right.
And, depending on what else is going on, we will try and help as many people as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, there are lines you have to draw sometimes.
Sure.
And we've got one or two people who are kind of needy in the tech support area that, we do try to help out, but at some point you have to wean them off and send them,
Send them to more appropriate resources.
Yes. Thank you, Tony.
I mean,
It's very.
the big one lately, I think, has been I bought this Arduino board at Radio Shack, and when I Googled it, your company name had,
Oh,
that's
goodness.
happened a few times.
Yeah.
And can you guys come to my house?
Yeah.
Well, I've got the same dilemma, I get just emails, I've had to resort to, I can't spend the time now, so I've had to resort to sending them a form letter response that says, sorry, I don't have time, please go ask on the forum, that's what it's there for, kind of, as a one-man band. That's, what I've had to resort to. And it breaks my heart every time, because I want to spend the half an hour to write a detailed response to them, but I know I just can't. And that breaks my heart as somebody who's, back in the old day when I used to lick a stamp and actually type it on a typewriter, a response, or handwrite a letter and then stick it in an envelope and send it back to them. That's I enjoy doing that. I think all of us do.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the handwritten letter, because we once, I think it's only happened once, and it happened, I had to receive it, but when I was in tech support, we did get a handwritten letter once, and it came from Australia.
Oh, brilliant.
Nice. Not
Yeah, we're a bit
Australia.
backward here in Australia.
Came from
Didn't they want a
1985.
printed copy of our catalog? Wound up to send them.
Possibly, yeah, it could have been. Yeah.
And did you handwrite a reply?
I was getting ready to, but I noticed they included their email, and so I emailed them back. I guess something must have been happening. They had written multiple emails that just kept getting bounced back to them, so I don't know if they were misspelling something or anything, but they finally got fed up and wrote us a handwritten letter.
I can't stand SparkFun. What's with these guys?
Oh, goodness.
So you guys don't have a written catalog, do you? I mean, a printed catalog? You never jumped into that space.
I think we had really. We have an auto-generating PDF that kind of assembles things from the website that you can print if you hate trees.
It changes so quickly. Every week we've got another half dozen products, and so the web's really the best way to do it. And I got to give a shout out to our IT department, because I think we have one of the best websites in the industry. It is pretty good. Really hard on it. And it's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
I like it.
Hats off to them. Do you guys? How much of your stuff is made in the US? Like, do you get your bare boards made in China? Do you? I know you assemble a lot. You assemble your boards in house and stuff like that, which is fantastic. But what about bare boards or other things? Is that a company policy to try and keep jobs in the US, so to speak?
It's the policy to try.
Yeah.
Right.
As far as that goes, our boards are manufactured in China, though, and our parts come from wherever our parts come from. Usually, that's just the cheapest option.
I'll say a lot of people would probably think the parts with China too, but in my experience, we get silicon from all over the world.
Well, they can come, when you order a chip, it can come from any one of 5 different manufacturing plants around the world. You often don't know where it's coming from. It could come from a US fab, it could come from,
but most packaging is done in China or Malaysia is most of the packaging too. So usually ships from there.
They'll fab it in one place and then package it in the other. And
actually, a week or two back, we had a really cool news post of the carbon footprint behind the Pro Mini.
Right.
That kind of traced all the destinations.
I will have to link that in.
Is that online? Is that available? Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. And what was the outcome from that? Was it surprising?
It was kind of skewed because the numbers, it looked at, what's the carbon footprint of one plane flying across the Atlantic or something like that. And of course that's, if you look at it from the standpoint of one board, it's going to be outrageous, but you have to understand we're ordering and receiving thousands of parts at a time. So
right.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to,
Yeah.
It's an impossible calculation. Have you guys ever been burned by fake/faulty grey market parts?
I feel like you know the answer to that.
That's right.
We had a
Story for you.
big issue with that, with fake Atmega chips. Fake.
Yeah.
It was during a worldwide shortage, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The 328 was hard to get.
Yeah.
Fake in what way? Were they just simply like no dye inside, just a package, or
There was
were
a
they?
dye.
They were nice enough to include a slug of metal.
Oh, right.
A useless slug of metal.
It was a chip of the right footprint. It was just completely with new labeling on it to make it look like a genuine chip.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
We
kind of
got
amazing.
we
They
ended up
wiped it.
getting X-rays of it, and it was like an on semiconductor.
It was an
Dye or something.
Right, it was some other chip,
Yeah.
and they just that cost
Yeah.
1 cent, and all they got for nothing, and they just
Right.
rebadged
Some
it.
scrap.
Ouch. Is that because you tried to go through a third party, a grey market seller, so to speak,
Yeah.
rather than
Times were desperate.
right.
Those are the dark days.
Yeah.
And we actually wrote a blog post on that as well,
Right.
with pictures and scans of the chips and things like that.
Yeah.
Just the counterfeit Atmegas.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
briefly tried to sell the slugs too. I think.
We tried to sell them just for
Hey, you got to make it up somehow.
History.
Right?
SparkFun
Novelty.
history.
but I think that's illegal.
Well, not if you sell them as like gift items or something, right? You know,
Details.
like
I don't know what the exact law.
make them into keychains or something, right?
We were saying they were counterfeit,
Yeah.
but
And to be fair, I mean, this wasn't like, somebody in a back alley offering us
Oh,
chips.
right.
This company had a legit-looking website, and, people kind of checked into it as much as they could and sent them a check, and we actually did get parts back. I mean,
Yeah, that's a good
Right.
start. Yep.
that's kind of the funny thing. I mean, they could have just disappeared with the money and not even sent anything.
Yeah.
Well, they're
and
often a
then
parts
short-
broker. So they can get
Yeah,
their,
they already know.
you're buying through the broker, and then
Right.
they get from wherever source. So you don't know who they're getting from. And, sometimes you get great, 99% of the time you
Right.
get great stuff. Other times you get bitten.
Yeah. And shortly after that, the company just disappeared off the face of the earth. So there's...
That's how it usually goes.
But,
Right?
and that's a learning experience. I mean, we've got a bunch of buyers right now who are pretty good at what they do and learn from these things, and we don't have too many problems like that anymore, do we?
That's nice to have buyers in house. I miss that from my stuff.
Yep.
Like, I used to
same
have them
here.
in house, and because they'll have that knowledge that you'll like you can be like, oh, of course, that's fine on all the distribution sites. It looks great, and then the buyer's like, you're not using that. Go back to the drawing board. Start again, buddy, because you're not allowed to use that part.
There's no way we can get 10,000 of those within
Yeah.
a year.
yeah.
Is that something that if you work on a design and you're so proud of it and you finished it and then you send it through to the buying people and they just go, sorry, we can't buy this. This is a no-go. Have you ever been hit by that?
Not from the purchasers, no.
I've occasionally they'll get wary if I'm asking for larger quantities of things.
Right.
The warehouse space is kind of at a premium at the moment. We're getting very big for the space we're in.
Did you guys just move?
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
We
Oh,
just
okay.
broke ground on the new building, so.
When are you supposed to move over there?
Quarter 1 of 2014.
Oh, cool. Wow.
That is projected, so it's probably going to be
Q3.
Yeah. Yeah, well, contract.
Is there a plan to do that without disrupting your, disrupting all your shipping and all that sort of stuff? Any idea how that's going to work from a logistics
It's
side?
really hard work.
Yeah.
Our IT
Right,
department's already working on tracking inventory, and they're kind of rewriting the whole system for that, so that way when we do move, it's as low impact as possible on this. So
Yeah, it really would not surprise me if there's an all hands Saturday or Sunday or both involved.
I think
Right.
at least both. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be kind of this complete exodus.
yeah,
That'll be a lot of people on skateboards.
it's only a mile away. So. so.
Yeah.
All right.
So did you guys get to design your own space? Because that's always like awesome. Or is that?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
We were talking about fire poles and slides earlier, but a lot of people really wanted some crazy stuff in this building, and to their credit, the people working on it actually let us get away with a lot more than probably anybody else would.
Yeah.
We got a climbing wall.
Is it a brand new building or is it a...
Yeah.
Built from scratch.
Oh, it's actually built from scratch, is it? Right. That's what we did at Altium, and the owner said we must have a glass staircase. So we got a glass staircase.
We need one too.
Watch out on Shorts Day.
And then we wanted to do this... and then we wanted to do this project where then you would put a row of RGB LEDs behind each step, and then you could control them and, light up the staircase as you walk. It would detect your movement and all that sort of stuff. And that was a project that was actually on the cards before they packed up and moved to China.
Yeah.
So, glass staircase. Yeah, companies will do crazy things.
I'm sure we'll do lots of interesting things in the new building.
Mm-hmm. It's supposed one of its purposes is to be a showcase for projects that we do, projects that our customers do. So there's going to be a lot of really cool stuff there.
That's great.
Right. With your projects, what would be a high volume product? Like is it? Are we talking thousands, tens of thousands? I assume it wouldn't be the hundreds of thousands.
Thousands. You're looking at thousands at a time.
Right, thousands would be a popular product. Yeah. So you often can't get good volume discounts. You only want 1,000 chips.
Well, maybe. But if they've got them across different products too, right? I mean, you guys have stuff that shares across products.
Oh, of course. Right? If you can reuse them. Yeah.
We go through a lot of Amiga 328s.
Yeah.
It's just kind of our bog standard Jelly Bean 8-bit microcontroller.
Yeah.
Right.
Bare materials, we often can get pretty good volume pricing. It's the products that we're simply resellers for that it gets a little hairier.
Oh, yeah.
Often requires a lot of negotiation on my part.
So you have like a list of parts a list of preferred parts for any design, and you do your utmost to sort of design them in, even if they're not optimal. You'll know, I can optimize it, but I'd rather by doing this, but that adds a new part to the inventory kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Thing. I can picture you having to, as a designer, having to trade off with that annoying quirk.
Yeah, usually we don't hit those kind of tolerances, though. We're always okay with using the 10% tolerance resistor, or so if it helps improve the functionality of something, we'll usually add another part.
Right.
And then we have that for the next project. So we usually don't run into a problem with that.
Yeah, and our production inventory is, I don't know how many thousands of parts, but it's a lot of stuff, and that usually compromises 99% of what's on a board. And it's just those, the new purpose-built chip that you're actually making the breakout board for that turns out to be the new thing that needs to be added to inventory.
Yeah. Yep. So we don't have a lot of people on the show that have manufacturing on site anymore. And I used to be at a place that had manufacturing on site, 2 different places actually. And one of the big things is in engineering, when you need a part, and you go out and grab one, and then you get in trouble later when they're doing inventory. Do you guys have that strife, or is it because do you just go on the website and order it and then go upstairs and pick it up?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
If it's a storefront product, we can place an internal order, go downstairs, grab it off of the inventory shelf. No problem. The problem is if you're designing something and you need something that we use regularly, but it doesn't. We don't sell it on the storefront, and then you go downstairs and you dip into the production inventory, and they're pretty
You're
forgiving.
supposed to reduce the quantities.
Yeah, as long as you let
the
somebody
database.
know that you're doing it,
Yeah.
they're pretty forgiving of that.
Yeah.
But
Man,
then if you only need one, you always take 2, because then you build up your own secret stash. Every engineer has their own secret drawer stash. Come on,
why
admit
stop
it.
at 2, Dave? Come on, man. Take
I
20.
never take less than
Well, I know.
25.
Take 10, right? Order of magnitude,
Yeah. There always used to be these very nice but very stern ladies that I'd have to get past. There's always the guardians. You have to, you're like slowly counting off the reel. You're like, I've only got 10 ladies. I'm okay. Don't hurt me.
Yeah, I can't say that any of us has not been guilty of that at one time or another, but we try to be careful about it because we like the production people. We don't want to make their lives any harder than we have to.
Yeah.
And
They make our lives easier.
and when inventory count time comes, we all end up down there counting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
The whole company counts.
Yep.
See, now there's something that's
Ever-
not a big
yep.
deal if you guys go bigger, right? Maybe you can try and hand that off to some interns or something, you know.
Yeah, you ever count a little jar full of SMD resistors? It's
No, I have interns.
Have you ever had any rush jobs? Has somebody
yes.
came in, oh, look, there's this new chip. I want it by the weekend, damn it.
As far as that goes, no. Usually, if something's time sensitive, it's because we want it for an event. So I've definitely pushed, rush through certain kits because we wanted to teach them at Maker Faire. Other than that, the new technology teardowns are usually the only other thing that really gets rushed. So Mike just did our leap motion teardown.
Oh yeah.
We're like, all right, we got to be, as soon as
you got
possible
to be Johnny on the
this
spot.
one, so
Yeah. That's
drop everything you're doing, and he turned that around in a day, 2 days.
yeah, about a day.
You have to, otherwise you may as well not bother because somebody else has done it.
right.
So,
Yeah, I have an Oculus Rift sitting on my desk right now that was supposed to be for a teardown, but we didn't get it in time.
Yeah,
So
nice story.
we're gonna have to hack it.
Can't tear it down now. I got to use it to play games. Sorry, guys. Well, you guys paid for the Google Glass teardown that Star and I forget the other person's name did. That was cool too. That's great. You guys are funding lots of good sciencey stuff on the web.
is there a corporate policy that we're going to put X% of our revenue back into community projects, education, something like that, or is it just whatever is cool? I guess you guys aren't the best to answer that.
Yeah, I mean that's just the education budget, really. The budget we give the Department of Education. We kind of turn them loose and say, and they're very good at what they do, and a lot of what they do is about half outreach and half curriculum development, and I guess the third half would be actually going out and teaching it, and they're always busy. So a lot of that department is where that percentage of our budget goes to.
Got it.
Giving it back to the community. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, even beyond the education department, we also, we try our best to support projects that we find that are cool, even if we can't necessarily throw funds or parts at them, give them a shout out on the social media or Kickstarter page support or something like that, just to kind of get the word out there for them. So
We did just do our donation day for the EFF too a few weeks ago, where
Right, nice.
I forget how much we donated, but all of our sales for that day, we donated some portion to the EFF.
And we do have a sponsorship budget as well.
Yeah. And a little bit
work.
here and a little bit here and there.
There's a show called The Amp Hour. If you guys ever have a place you need to put money, I'm just saying, not to cross that editorial barrier, but I'm just saying.
The idea of our education department originally was to get it going, funded with SparkFun's revenues, and then have it break off on its own and become its own unaffiliated nonprofit organization.
Right.
Is there still plans for that?
That's still on the table. We're not actively working on it right now. But the more public schools we get into, the more classes we can teach, the more awareness there is of this kind of curriculum and this educational organization as its own entity. The more the discussion turns to turning it into a nonprofit.
Do you guys have any anecdotes just about the schools and such like that? I mean, do you know how much of your business roughly is schools, or maybe just from anecdotally, do you know, 2 out of the 10 kids that my kids know who SparkFun is, like anything like that?
Well, we did just get a big order through for the New York City school system.
And Baltimore, too.
Baltimore, too, now.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. We have the metric zone on our site. We have it broken down by, customers and then distributors and then educators, too. And I think for a lot of stuff, that's like 1 or 2% on a lot of the products. So it doesn't seem like a lot, but then, you think about the classes we're teaching and I don't know, it seems like we get a lot more feedback from those groups.
Yeah.
So it's hard to gauge it that way, but
It's probably the fastest growing of of our customer bases.
That's awesome. That's really, really good. So we might see SparkFun based classes in schools then, huh? I mean, like that, or at least as fueling the materials,
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time agonizing over how to improve on, the light bulb switch battery experiment kids
Right.
do. And it's very difficult to improve upon that. But anything that makes that kind of education easier is what we spend a lot of our time thinking about.
Do you know if there's any government grants or support for any of this sort of stuff?
Like education or
Yeah, for all this, education or for, doing stuff like that.
I know. I'm not sure if it's still going on, but the U.S. Navy had a open call for projects related to STEM education. I think they were prepared to offer up to $200,000 for some projects if they felt.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a novel that you had to fill out, but there are some government grants out there for stuff like this.
Because here in Australia, you can get like a tax exemption for R&D, when you put money back into your company for doing research and development as well and stuff like that. But I don't know about the US in that respect.
I think that's more enlightened than we are right now.
Yeah, right.
What about upcoming events? So you guys do the autonomous vehicle competition. Do you guys have other big ones coming up that people should know about? I mean, is there like on-site stuff?
Well, we've got the Northern Colorado mini maker fair coming up in a few weeks here.
That's not on site, though.
Yeah, it's not on our site. Yeah.
Okay.
It's up 15 miles north in Loveland.
yeah, it's in Loveland.
That's
Home of Agilent, too. Loveland.
Yeah, we'll have a big presence there.
And I think this year a lot of stuff's on hold just because of the new building. That's kind of where a lot of the planning focus has gone towards. Instead of doing I think the plan is we're going to do a lot of stuff once we get into the new building, such as like an open house, and I don't know if Ensemble is going to come back or something like that. So.
No, Ensemble will probably not be there.
What's an Ensemble? Sorry, I don't know what that is.
Ensemble was...
It sounded like a good idea at the time.
Yeah, it was a fever dream I had one night for a competition, and I mentioned it offhand to Nate, our CEO, and Pete, our engineering director, at a barbecue, and they decided it was a good idea to actually make it a thing. But it was a competition, a robotics competition, where the rules were that the robot had to it had to have one task that it did. It had to do that task poorly and then destroy itself. And that was why it was called the Animob competition, which is, because it was breaking two of the three laws of robotics.
Right.
Oh, nice.
It was not protecting itself. It was not protecting others. And, the one thing that it was supposed to do, it couldn't do properly. So the prototypical example of this was a robotic teddy bear that tried to dunk a cookie in a glass of milk, knock the milk over, and then burst into flame. And that would be a winning entry in the Ensemble competition. But the problem was that it turns out people don't like to spend all this time and money building this thing that
just sucks, huh?
to just watch it fail. They're not insane like me and want to watch it fail spectacularly one time because it's like spending all this money on a firework that only goes off once. So we did get we got a good deal of entrants and very good stuff. And actually, the winners were some. One of the winners, we had a video competition because it turned out we weren't allowed to have fire on site. Because there
Insurance.
was a fire ban in Colorado that year.
Oh, yeah.
And so all the entries involving fire, which was about half of them, had to be done on video, and we had to have a separate video category. And the people who won that were a couple of kids. We gave these kids, two sub-15-year-old kids, brother and sister, we gave them $1,500. And what they did was they made a series of robotic stuffed animals that would have a tea party, and then caught fire, and it was hilarious. It was great, and these kids loved making it. Their dad was especially excited about it, and so they made some teddy bears that had a tea party and then burst into flame, and then we gave them $1,500 for it, and that was essentially that was the Animov competition, and we had a live portion too. Which was basically we had robots drowning themselves, and we had what else?
Falling into washing machine.
Oh, yeah. Robots that fell into a dryer,
Spinning dryer,
a spinning dryer, and then in between that, the entrance, we'd have sideshows where we tried to microwave as much metal as we could to see what would happen, and just anything you're not supposed to do that was destructive and dangerous. We tried to do it, and kind of a la survival research labs, and so that was the Animov competition. But because so few people wanted to actually destroy their things, we decided to cancel it for the next year.
So, real quick question: you get paid to think about this stuff?
No, I think about this stuff, and then somebody pays me.
Okay, yeah, that works too. Yeah,
It's not intentional.
yeah, that's awesome. Are you
really
guys
lucky we're employed?
are you guys hiring right now? Because that's always a big question people ask too. I mean, are you guys looking for new? Not for me particularly, but for listeners. Are you?
Sure.
Yeah, you always looking for people.
Just missed that engineering window. We always accept applications, especially if you have a bunch of cool projects you can show us. Mm-hmm. When we do go looking for new creative talent of any kind, if we've got somebody's project that we've seen and we say, hey, what about that person who did the flaming teddy bear? Then that if that person applied, they're going to get a call when we're hiring. But right now, we're just hiring for boring things like
not true.
shipper or Kidder.
Web development. We're hiring for web development.
Web development, yeah. Which honestly are less boring than in a Kidder at a different company, I think.
all the open jobs are listed at the bottom of the homepage.
Okay.
There's a little link for jobs at
there you
SparkFun, so you can always go there and see what's available. And send in resumes.
And portfolios, of course.
With photos of
portfolios.
projects, otherwise you won't get anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave, is there anything else you wanted to ask, or is there anything else on the Reddit section that we should ask about? Because we did.
I don't have the Reddit window open. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'm totally professional here and don't have it open.
So FPGAs, they were asking. Someone was asking about FPGAs. Is that going to be focused in the future?
Well, we'd love to. Somebody needs to write me the Silver Bullet FPGA tutorial. That's the hard one.
Oh yeah.
Hey, good luck.
I like Dave.
It's not that
Dave
trivial.
Vandenbout's FPGAs. Now what? I think that's
Sure.
There's lots of exclamation points.
That's it.
Part of the problem is that if you're attacking a problem that's complicated enough to need an FPGA to solve it, you don't need our help.
Exactly.
But we do.
Yeah,
we
it's
do.
it's almost like that. Yeah.
We do really try to, find the best avenues for teaching this kind of thing,
Yeah.
or at least pointing people in the right direction. And with the Papilio is my personal favorite. We've also got the Mojo now too. Yeah. Jack Gassett, the guy who or the main designer of the Papilio, has done a really good job of writing tutorials for that particular board. Other than that, it is just difficult to teach digital logic and non-procedural programming all at the same time.
Yeah. Let's see. Any other questions on here? I think that's about it. I mean, a lot of the other ones we actually involved in here, and people can always, if we missed anything, I don't know if you guys can check the comments afterwards, but we do have comments on our site. Maybe people forget that as our listeners too. Yeah,
they just download it to their bloody iPod and forget about us.
Yes, I do too.
Take. That's all they do.
We have comments too. We're used to it.
Yeah.
Read the comments.
Yeah.
No comments are always better than bad comments.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, thank you guys for being on the show. I mean, this has
And
been
my
an interesting
apologies to
experiment.
Chris. Hang on.
Go
It
ahead.
did actually kind of work. It didn't fail completely. It did work.
Yeah,
so
a little
sorry,
delay here
Chris.
and there.
I thought it'd be a bit of a schmozzle, but it wasn't.
Yes. So next time we'll go for 16 instead of just 6.
All right.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Let's do it.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah, right.
Have you gotten anywhere on whether on which one of you is going to win the integrated circuits made at home?
Oh,
Debate.
Dave says
I've already
he's
won.
Dave says he
I've already
wins.
won by a country mile.
Dave says he wins based on me giving up. That's what I've tapped out.
Always willing to-
You give up because it's impractical.
You guys had to bring this up, didn't you?
It's impractical.
They had to bring it up, didn't they? Everybody's got to bring this up.
Everyone's got to bring up the chip printer.
Yeah, every time. You know what? When it shows up, I'm just going to start laughing. I won't even say anything. The whole show will just be hour and a half of me laughing at Dave. So, whatever. Well, until then, people should check out SparkFun.com. Definitely the learn.sparkfun.com, which is the newer-ish tutorial and learning site. And buy lots of kits and breakout boards and everything. It's awesome.
And let us know what you think.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again. We appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.